So you guys ready to now maybe get in the word for a minute as we
Yes.
transition to a bit more of really what we feel like God has been speaking to us recently. It's related to even the interview that we're going to have in a little bit. But there's a lot of I don't know. There's a lot of misunderstanding out there about how God operates and how he works, specifically how he works through people. And I think there's this thought that people have that if I have fallen, if I have failed, if I mess up, if I make mistakes, that I've fallen out of grace or I can no longer be used by God. And we're here to tell you that is a lie. That is a lie from the pit of hell. That God not only would use you, but has shown a significant pattern throughout the Bible and human history that he continues to use broken people. And if you don't believe us, we're going to spend a little bit of time getting into the word on that today. But I thought I'd start off with a fun little video that our brother Kirk Franklin actually posted maybe in the past month, kind of on this topic. So let's check this out. It's a real quick one.
Abraham was a liar. Noah, an alcoholic. Job doubted God several times. Samson was promiscuous. David was a hoe and a murderer. Elijah was suicidal. Peter was embarrassed to let folk know he knew Jesus. Rahab, prostitute. The disciples often were weak, jealous of each other, and even fell asleep on Jesus the night he was arrested. The Samaritan woman couldn't even keep a husband, and Moses had anxiety. So, what's so bad that you've done that God can use you?
Oh, I love how he breaks out the apple at the end of it, like. but it's so true. Like that's just a quick breakdown of a handful of the folks that like God has clearly demonstrated, even though you've messed up, even though you're broken, I will use you. I know there was a sermon years ago at the church we were a part of at the time that our Pastor Carter did. The bottom line of it has always stuck with me, and it was this: God makes straight lines with crooked sticks.
Yeah.
And like us being the crooked sticks, and he would use us to do the beautiful, perfect things, the holy things that he has planned. So we thought today, as we go into this next segment, we would actually get into the Bible and take a look at one such disciple. And we're going to be talking about Peter. So let's get in the Bible. So as we get in the word today, we're going to be looking at Peter, who is a great example of a broken disciple, if you will. The man is all over the place with a lot of his, I don't know, his issues, we'll say. Yeah. One example of that comes out of Matthew 16:23, where it says, Jesus turned and said to Peter, "Get behind me, Satan. You are a stumbling block to me. You do not have in mind the concerns of God, but merely human concerns." Like this, when Jesus was saying this, what happened in the situation? I should have broke it down first. But what happened was, like, Jesus is telling them, like he's been telling them over and over again, that I am getting ready to die on the cross. I'm going to give my life. And Peter's like, no, don't. And like Jesus is like, boy, you getting it wrong. We've been walking together how long? And you still don't know? You still missing the headline? And so he just comes at him. He's like, yo, get behind me, Satan. And like at the same time, this is the same one, even though he's saying he's a stumbling block to me, he's the same one that he actually does call Peter, Simon Peter, meaning like the rock that I'm going to build my church on, that like the foundational truth that you've claimed of knowing who I am is what I'm going to build the truth or build my church on. Exactly. And at this moment here, he's like, yo, get behind me.
Yeah.
It's like, man, he's like, yeah, you're falling, you've forgotten it.
Yeah,
So
you're not getting it.
yeah, you're missing it, Peter. And then I think this is one of your favorite ones.
Yeah.
So this is what, Jesus in the garden. You want to set it up real quick?
Yeah, this is when they were coming to arrest Jesus. And again, Peter's like, oh, even though he knew this was going to be going down, he's like, oh no, we're going to put a stop to this. And he chops off one of the guy's ears.
Yeah, can you see that? You want to read that for him?
Yes. Then Simon Peter, who had a sword, drew it and struck the high priest's servant, cutting off his right ear. The servant's name was Malchus. Jesus commanded Peter, put your sword away. Shall I not drink the cup that the Father has given me?
So once again, no. Yeah, he's missing it again. He's still missing it, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny that like this follows the other conversation, you know, and it's like, you still don't get it, Peter. Like, you still don't get it.
It follows like a long list of things, though, not walking on water, like so many things. So he's still just like, no.
Yeah, I mean, so let's get into that list. I think we have those. So let's look at all the Peter's failings. So we highlighted two of our favorites, but like, he doesn't walk on water. Like, so he does for a minute. He's like feeling it, and then wait, what happened? I'm focused on something else. So that's in Matthew 14:22. We already mentioned this one where he rejects the idea of Jesus dying on the cross.
Mm-hmm.
Peter resists being washed by Jesus. There's a scene where Jesus is like, kind of like during that Last Supper scene where he's like, I need to wash y'all. And Peter's like, no. And like, he means good by it, right?
Yeah.
You know, he's like, I'm beneath you,
I'm
Lord.
not worthy.
You know?
Yeah.
But Jesus is like, yo, you gotta be washed by me. If you can wash by me, you can't have nothing to do. Oh, he's like, oh, okay, my bad, Jesus, my bad. Then wash it all, wash everything. Get my head. That's one of the things I love about Peter is that, like, though he gets it wrong, that like when he's rebuked, when he's challenged, like he repents and he returns and he, you know, because his heart is really to follow Jesus, you know.
Yes, exactly.
He falls asleep in prayer. He wasn't alone. Like, we isolating Peter here. Like, everybody was.
You know what? I try to read my Bible at night on sleep.
The whole crew was like, man, Jesus, I mean, I feel like walking with you is a prayer. So why?
Exactly.
Yeah, they all catching Z's. This was a big one for me. So Peter, he spends a lot of his time with the Jews and ministering to the Jews, but then he also ministers to the Gentiles. The problem is he starts acting different. He starts acting like, well, you know, the Gentiles are beneath me when the Jews are around. And like, it's like, man, you're gonna be two-faced like that?
Yeah.
Real, Peter?
Yeah.
And Paul calls him out. Paul's not having it. Paul's like, what, man? You better stop playing. And I mean, actually, going back, I don't know if I can go back on this. Related to that, Peter also gets, you know, corrected by God with how he looks at the Gentiles and their receiving of the Spirit as well, because he calls them unclean. And then God in prayer, in a dream, is like, Peter, like, don't call unclean what I call clean. Yes. Now go and talk to my homie Cornelius and let their whole family come to know me. And like, he goes in obedience. And but it's weird, that whole conversation. He's like, y'all know I shouldn't even be talking to y'all. Like, it's like, dang, bro.
I
know. But then they all receive the Spirit, everybody gets saved, and it's a great ending. But like, once again, Peter's broke, you know. And then you mentioned it before, him cutting off the ear of the arresting officer.
Yeah.
And then Peter denying Jesus. Hello. Like, it don't get bigger than that one.
No, I don't even know that, man.
Yeah, I don't even know that cat. Like, that's crazy, right? Yeah, I don't even know what it means.
Who is that guy?
Yeah, that was little Pete. That wasn't me. I'm
Exactly.
Peter, you know. Yeah. So he gets it wrong, and he gets it wrong consistently. And one of the things that I love is it's not like Peter got it wrong and then he came to know Jesus and everything's right.
Mhm.
No, it was like this is all while Peter's walking with Jesus.
Yeah.
We don't even talk about any of the things that he did while he was just a fisherman.
Yes.
This is
Oh,
after he came to know God, you know.
Exactly.
So it's like, cannot God use us as well? And the first point about this is God is not surprised by our brokenness.
Correct.
He knew that Peter was going to deny him. He even told Peter this, hey, yo, by the time the crow, you know, or whatever it calls or whatever makes its noise, like you're going to deny me 3 times. He's like, and Peter's like, no, you got it wrong. And God's like, okay. So he knows, he's not surprised. Like we can't disappoint him if like there's not an expectation that he has on us to do things in a different way, because he stands outside of space and time and he recognizes this is what is going to be true. And you know, I'm not surprised by it, you know. He's not surprised that we needed a savior. That's why he sent Jesus. He had a plan to send Jesus before time was even created. You know?
Exactly.
So he's not surprised. Are there any places in your own walk where you feel like it helps for you to recognize that God's not surprised? Like maybe we should just get real about some of the places where we maybe have failed before. Maybe is there an opportunity or a moment? Do you want me to go first? Where there's like, man, this is a place where like, man, I kind of fell, and I'm glad that God wasn't surprised. I just sprung this on her. We didn't talk about this.
Just trying to pinpoint one. There's so many.
So look, I'll go first. Like I know when I look back at my story, one of the mine's gonna be probably harder to follow because like I just know I get real vulnerable. But I remember when I was in a successive amount of adulterous situations early on in my marriage, and stepped out on my wife for a while, and she didn't know, and it was just bad. It was real bad. And it blows my mind to think that like while that was sin, and that stuff grieves me deeply, and I have sorrow every time I think about it, that it was not a surprise to God. That was stuff that he had already had a plan for, redeeming and forgiving me grace. And part of the way that it's being redeemed is like in this moment right now, where I can speak of that as part of my truth, and the fact that like my story didn't end there. And like now my wife and I, we experience a marriage that like it doesn't even make sense how good we have it. And we're having so many conversations with so many people that we love that are going through it right now as a couple. And we're like, man, why have we been spared from that? And it's his grace. It's his grace and mercy on our relationship. And because we went through a lot of that brokenness, and we made it out with God's help, that we feel stronger. So, and I'm just so grateful that God wasn't surprised by that. Do you have anything you want to share, or is that me going too deep, setting the bar too? I told you I go deep. Like, and you can talk about how you spent too much money at the mall one day if you want.
Well, I think for me, it's like probably like in the last couple years, I've been like dealing with kind of like just a depression that is very strange for me, because and then it's like affected just how I feel about not my relationship with the Lord, but it kind of makes me like question like my purpose. And I know that that's a lie from the enemy, but sometimes, I give into that, and, I'll just just be in this downward spiral of just, questioning God's plan for my life, even though
Yeah.
he's still showing his goodness and mercy every day. So I think it's just one of those things where you don't you don't expect to experience those things as a Christian, but you do. It's just that's the
Yep.
reality. I think people like to think those things don't happen to Christian, and Christians don't have those types of thoughts and stuff. But I just am grateful that the Lord, it is a part of the Lord's plan. And,
Yep.
I'm starting to recognize like that is a lie from the enemy, because it's just like a thought where I'm just like, that doesn't even make sense in any realm spiritual.
Right.
Like,
Right.
why am I thinking like that? So it's been kind of a struggle, but it's just been good to walk through it with the Lord, because it's
Amen.
like, man, and that he's not surprised by it.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Surprised. What's this all about?
But it's so good for us to remember, because we're always going to be surprised. But it's so good for us to remember that the one we're walking with, the one that we're following, isn't, right?
Yeah.
So it's like when you're walking through the dark and you don't know where you're going, or if you're playing one of those games where maybe you got a blindfold on and somebody's leading you, right? You're going to be surprised by anything that you feel like you're touching or whatever, but they see it all and they know where you're headed. And they're walking you through it, and though you may bump and stumble, they're not going to let you fall. And like the Lord is never surprised by any of the things and the mistakes that we make. And it's just beautiful to know that not only is he good and loving, but he's sovereign, and he's outside of all of this, making a way for us to persevere and to move forward in it. So, and that is a great, thing for the next plan, that he still plans great things for broken people. And as he's walking us through this, like part of the difficulty that we went through now becomes like the platform that he builds, the thing that he wants us to do and be used by in the next season.
Correct. It's it's a building block almost. And sometimes you don't see it until you're past that moment. And then you realize like, oh, I went through this, because you encounter somebody or something in the next season of your life that situation helped. And it's just like, wow, Lord, I love how you use the brokenness for your good.
Yep. Amen. He uses it all. He uses it all. What is that? That Romans 8:28, that, he will work all things together for the good of those who love him and are called according to his purposes.
Yes.
I know my mom was on here earlier today, and that's like her favorite verse. So you guys, no matter what has happened, no matter where you even currently find yourself, God's not done with you. God can still and will still use you. Just continue to persevere in your walk with him. Even if you've turned and gone the other way, it's not too late to turn back. Give yourself all over again. That should be like even a daily practice for us, is to let it go and surrender whatever it is to him, and knowing that he's going to use the broken pieces to make like a beautiful mosaic,
Yes.
So.